Okay, welcome to EverestLabs webinar, How AI and Robotics Solve Labor Challenges and Boost Efficiency. Before we get started, there's just a few things I want to go over. First, everyone here is muted. Second, we are going to be recording this webinar, and so we will be sending that recording to you tomorrow or Monday at the latest. And then, of course, we're going to have some live Q&A at the end. So please put your questions in the Q&A box at the bottom of your Zoom screen. And with that, I would like to introduce our speakers, Katie Nellis, Solutions Engineer, and Samir Kamat, Lead Solutions Engineer, both here at EverestLabs. And with that, I will hand it over to Katie.
Okay, thanks, Sam. So RecycleOS encapsulates the products and services that EverestLabs provide to help automate all different plants in the industry. The first piece of that puzzle is our high-quality vision system, which captures a 3D video stream of all the material on a belt. It's a fairly simple camera box that mounts easily onto any existing belt, whether it's narrow or wide or flat or inclined. Next, we take that video stream and apply it to our robust AI models. Over the past 5 or 6 years, we've amassed a data set of billions of recyclables. So using that, our AI models can identify and classify over 30 broad material types with over 95% accuracy. And what's cool about using machine learning in this industry is that we're constantly adding new material categories and can adapt with the changes that are developing in packaging and branding and with EPR laws. So all of that information on the materials is captured as data and then available to our clients through cloud-based dashboards. So you can just access it via a web browser, and you can track all sorts of data like the material composition, robot performance, MRF machinery performance, your landfill cost, your recovery rates, bale quality, and more. We provide some standard dashboards depending on the use case and the solution, but configure them to your needs and can also set up automated reports for you to receive at your convenience. So the AI and data allows our clients to make data-driven decisions on how to improve their plants. And a great way to reduce labor costs and increase your recovery is through our EverestLabs robotic cells. These are designed to take up as much space as a human sorter and can be installed in existing belts, whether they're inclined or cleated. We also install slim fit safety cages so as not to disrupt your existing spaces. And what's great is that the robots don't have any screens or filters to clean, so maintenance is very quick and minimal on these robots. In addition to that, we provide monitoring from our robotic operations center. So we're doing continual audits, keeping track of robot performance 24/7, and can alert you if anything is off so that we can troubleshoot and work to resolve it. So when you put all these puzzle pieces together, the value that we provide translates into improving your recovery rates, helping decrease costs, allows you to leverage data to operate and make decisions confidently. And what we're going to focus on today, we're also able to remedy labor challenges that MRFs all across the country are facing. Next slide, Sam. Here is a high-level summary of those labor challenges that we've been seeing, and I'm sure many people here are familiar with. First is cost. Many industry publications have projected that employee costs in the recycling process are only going to increase. So whether you're in a high labor rate area or maybe you're relying on contract labor, either way you're paying for it. So without automation, it's really tough to get around that. Retention is also something that we see MRFs struggling with. Some places can't find people who want to do what is a dirty and physically taxing job on a sorting line. So there's a lack of workforce. And when you are able to staff, it's not necessarily reliable. People may not stay long or just aren't able to show up some days. I was actually visiting a MRF last week where the facility is awesome. It's built to run dual stream, but because of a lack of sorters, they can only run one stream at a time and have to alternate materials on different days of the week. And I just thought, wow, what a huge loss of opportunity that's really only because of the restrictions due to staffing. So when you are able to employ sorters, the efficiency of that manual sorting can still be a problem. Some MRFs have outstanding sorters that can crank out 50 picks per minute, but if we're being honest, they're outliers, not the average. And there's no guarantee that they can maintain that level of picking every minute for 8 hours straight. And because it's manual, you don't have exact data on what is still there and could still be recovered on that line. Lastly, a commonality across all MRFs is your dedication to the health and the safety of your staff. As I mentioned, we know that the sorting on the line is not easy. It's hot, it's smelly, you can get dizzy just staring at the belt all day. And on top of that, there is some of the unpredictable materials that can show up on a line, whether it's explosives, hazardous materials, sharp objects. All in all, it's not the safest job and can be a source of additional costs for you in the form of disability benefits and workers' comp. Next slide. So we designed our RecycleOS solutions to help remedy these labor challenges. And some benefits that our clients see by leveraging our AI and robotics include sort of the main 4 bullets here. First, lower costs across the board. We offer leasing and purchasing options that allow our clients to see significant drops in their labor costs, as well as quick payback periods of anywhere from 3 to 6 months. These robots are guaranteed labor. They're there every day. They don't necessarily take breaks and only require a few minutes of maintenance every day to be operating at their peak performance. And with that comes consistency. We're able to pick 2 to 3 more times than the average manual sorter, which is anywhere between 40 and 60 picks per minute. And we also stress the accuracy in our picks, which we strive to be, at a minimum 80%. And with regards to safety, like I said, these robots are designed to be installed in a small footprint that is about the size of where a person would stand. And our ability to be installed without many retrofits means we can go in small, tight, maybe unsafe areas that a human wouldn't be able to. And of course, we have a safety lock mechanism on all of our safety cages so that any access to perform maintenance is done with the robot in a non-operational state. Now, the best way to hammer home how we actually solve these in the field and provide this value to our clients is to take you through a real world example, which I'll pass it off to Samir now to do just that.
Thanks, Katie. Next slide. So let's look at our case study today at Alameda County Industries in San Leandro, California. This is a MRF that runs a dual shift operation, processing over 300 tons per day. Some pain points that we encountered when we were first dealing with them were mostly around 3 buckets that were staffing, safety, and operations. With staffing, they just had high employee turnover rates, no call, no shows. Retention of staff was always a problem, and recruitment would be another process that took forever. It was hard for them to staff all lines through all facilities, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Outside of that, they had some safety challenges, such as worker injuries were inevitable, even after comprehensive safety training. Miscellaneous expenditure that related to worker safety, provide workers' comp, etc., tended to be pretty expensive. And outside of this, there were some operational challenges, such as the MRF hitting a ceiling with the amount of tons per day they could process. They could not process more material, even if they could, due to some labor and process challenges. And then just some breaks and other sorter-related issues created several hours of downtime for the MRF. Next. So we went in, we looked at the facility, we did a free site survey for them, where we analyzed how the process goes from the tipping floor to the residue line to the landfill. And we identified certain areas where our robots could potentially augment the worker force. And they were mostly around in the QC stations. So we came up with a list of QC lines where we could possibly automate, and they were PET, Polypro, HD, and UBC QC lines where we first went in. And in fact, UBC was among the first line that we first set up. Each position was occupied by a human sorter on each shift. So essentially, we installed 4 robots, and that replaced 8 human sorters, 2 on each shift. Outside of that, what they did realize was that there was a lot of material, such as PET and containers, that were being missed by the optical sorter. And this was going on a line where humans could not be staffed. So after we aced and deployed 4 robots on the QC lines, we decided to mount a robot on a line where a human could not be staffed. And as Katie mentioned, that was possible because we have the ability and the option to go on lines where humans cannot not only stand, but our robots could. We have different mounting options where our robots can sort even without having a necessary platform for it. Next. So what we achieved was that after we replaced the 5 sorting positions, ACI was able to reduce the labor cost by 59%. They not only saw a reduction in labor cost, but also they were now able to divert a lot of containers and PET that was going through to landfill by adding another robot on the post-optical line. On their UBC QC, they were able to mark a remarkable 90% success rate, producing high-quality bales than ever before. Our robots have recorded a over 99% uptime and has been in 24/7 monitoring to our robot operation center, notifying them anytime when any kind of housekeeping is necessary, such as replacing suction cups. And that's enabled our robots to be available, be online all the time, making sure that we provide cost savings as well as reduce the operational headaches for our operations team at ACI. Next. So to conclude, through our 5 robotic arms at ACI, it was able to reduce its labor cost by 59%. The sorters on QC lines were transferred to other lines within the MRF. The RecycleOS system today automatically prioritizes material picking depending on recycled market rates and generates more yield for ACI. And what that would mean is, say, for instance, our robot on the HDP QC line sees a natural HD and a PET come through at the same time. So it is able to make a decision based on what would be the more valuable pick for the operator or for the customer, and is able to go after that material successfully, which is not possible, or which is very difficult to achieve if you have human sorters on the line constantly need training. The quality of material throughput has increased, and thereby being able to generate top dollar on commodities. And what that means is that our bales now look cleaner than before. We are able to divert more material for ACI, making sure that no recyclable is left behind. Through the RecycleOS material reports, the MRF can make better informed decisions about the material flow and track when screens need to be replaced. So everything that comes to these 5 robots go through our 5 vision systems, aka cameras. And what is that? And that is able to create a detailed material composition on what are the different types of material that came through that. And we have basically worked hand in glove with ACI to set some thresholds and some alerts to informing them of any time when there's a spike in aluminum, anytime there's a spike in HD or PET, giving ACI heads up on letting them know that a upstream equipment needs to be fixed or that screens need to be replaced. Quoting this from one of our staff at ACI, EverestLabs is the staffing firm whose robots don't call in sick or quit abruptly, but are a workhorse that every sorting facility needs. That's exactly right. Think of us like a staffing firm where we bring in robots instead of human sorters and are just easy to work with, and making sure that we meet your operational needs. Thank you so much. Sam, over to you.
All right. Thanks, guys. That was awesome. So now I think we can do some Q&A. So go ahead and pop your questions into the Q&A chat, and we will get started. All right, so I had one come in. So this person wants to know, they said their MRF is driven, they're not driven to replace staff, but they want to know how they can still leverage our robotics in their facility.
I can take that one, Sam. So this webinar focused obviously on solving labor challenges, but if you're not looking to replace sorters, installing our robots in some of these sort locations can allow you to reallocate those sorters to other areas of the plant where robotics may not be as effective, like on an OCC line or a heavy fiber line. It allows you to reallocate those sorters to areas where they're better suited. And in addition to that, implementing our robotics on, let's say, a residue line that maybe isn't previously staffed can pay for itself through recovering revenue that would have otherwise been sent to landfill.
Awesome. Thanks, Katie. Here's another one. Someone's actually asking about how did the deployment at ACI actually work?
Yeah, I can take that one. So ACI signed up for 4 robots initially. They went in phased approaches, just depending on the ease of deployment and ACI's priorities and available resources. So we can work with you on a long-term plan on a number of robots that could potentially go in, and we can work with you in a phased approach to make sure that we can, that the deployments can be staggered instead of all of them going all at once.
Awesome. Makes sense. This is a good question. How difficult is it to reposition the robot to another line if required? Is it possible? Can it be done by the MRF operator, or does it require the equipment supplier?
I can take that one. So it's not difficult to reposition the robot. Our installation process is actually very streamlined and takes, I would say, maybe a day or two for each robot because we have the vision system and then the robot. So if you wanted to reposition the robot on the other line, we do a really good job of training your MRF maintenance managers on how to perform the minimal maintenance that's required. So my guess is we would likely treat it like similar to the install, where a team member from EverestLabs would come out and supervise the repositioning of the robot to help and then to make sure that everything's calibrated when it's put back in the proper place. But I would assume, yeah, maybe like a day or two to get that done.
Thanks, Katie. And then this is another question. This is a good one. So when we say, you're saving 30 to 50% in labor costs, or ACI say 59%, how is that labor cost savings actually calculated?
Yeah, so the payback is actually calculated with the hard labor costs alone, like your wages and how many shifts you're running. It doesn't include any increased material recovery that you get from the consistent increase in picks per minute. It doesn't include, landfill fees that will decrease based on recovering more recyclable material. It doesn't account for your turnover rates or your training costs, as well as, any costs related to injuries.
Great. Thanks, Katie. Well, I think that's it for Q&A. So this was a nice short webinar. Thank you everyone who attended, and thank you Samir and Katie for all your hard work on this.